afternoon from Los Angeles and welcome to Stock Market Today, sponsored by Interactive Brokers. On today's show, we're taking a look at three strong charts. We're taking a look at Dexcom as well as Fiserv and Sleep Number. But first, let's take a look at those major indexes. It's Alyssa Coram here with Ken Shreve. And Ken, we were set for some really strong gains, but it looks like all of the major indexes pulled back here a little bit. The NASDAQ finished up with a gain of about 0.3%. So did the S&P 500. The Dow finished the day up about 0.7%, moving on trade-related headlines.
Yeah, so a lot to talk about. The sentiment was positive early after actually China came out this morning and said that they had reached an agreement with the U.S. to start to phase out some of these tariffs that we've seen in recent months. But as Ed Carson pointed out, it was interesting that there was no tweet from Donald Trump about this agreement. So, and we had nice gains for a while, and then there was a Reuters report in the afternoon that there's actually resistance in the White House about these tariff rollbacks. And that caused the NASDAQ and S&P 500 to give back a lot of their gains, and they almost went back to break even. So it looks like we ended with gains of about 0.3% for the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Blue chips outperformed, and classic case of money flowing out of bonds today. The 10-year Treasury yield up about 11 basis points to 1.92%. And, overall, a decent session for the stock market, but we saw more, good action in individual stocks.
Yeah, that's right. A lot to digest there. But let's take a look at a few of those individual names on our radar, starting with Dexcom. Ticker there is DXCM. And this stock surged today on the heels of its quarterly earnings report. A big gain, a nice gap up out of a base here, as you can see on the chart, a real breakaway gap. And it was able to finish, it looks like, around the upper half of its trading range.
Yeah, definitely in the top half of its intraday range. And that's what you want to see when a stock gaps up in price. Dexcom, really interesting name here. A very big company with a market cap of $17 billion, so it's no small potatoes. But a really nice earnings report. Revenue's up 49%, and they also raised their full-year revenue guidance. So this is a company that makes continuous glucose monitoring systems for diabetics. Really strong demand for their product, and just a nice bullish breakout today for Dexcom.
Yeah, that's right, and a really big beat here. So that coupled with this really strong gap up with a nice close could be the precursor to even further gains. So what should investors be looking for in terms of the price action for Dexcom in the coming sessions?
Well, I mean, we've seen so many nice earnings gaps in this latest earnings season. There always seems to be pessimism as we head into earnings season, but there have been a lot of great earnings reports, and Dexcom with today's gap up, just the latest example. So anytime a stock gaps up, I mean, we've mentioned this in recent shows, you want to see the stock hold on to these gains and maybe just move sideways. If you do see a pullback, you'd prefer to see it in light volume. So we'll see how Dexcom trades in coming days. It's also possible to see follow through after a gap up. So if we have another update for the market on Friday, maybe Dexcom extends gains here, but it'll pause at some point and get a low volume pullback. That would be ideal price action.
Right, and we typically do say that the buy range after a stock breaks out is that 5%, but since our research does show that we can often see a lot of follow through with these big gap ups, it's not too extended when you see that big gap up, even though it's beyond the 5%.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of institutional buying in the stock today. It might have been some funds adding to their current position, maybe some buying for the first time. Dexcom did have some short interest, so there were people betting on that the stock would be headed lower. So there's probably some short covering today as well. But really solid earnings report, solid day for the stock. Yeah,
we'll definitely keep an eye on that one. And turning our attention now to Fiserv, which logged a gain of about 4.5% in heavy volume today, staging a breakout here. This one also moving on earnings. big acceleration of top line growth, up about 120% versus just 6% over the last quarter. A big earnings gain as well of 17%, also acceleration there. But this one, it did gap up, but it had a little bit more trouble at that buy point.
Yeah, only because it closed below the buy point, but it looks like we also got a close in the top half of the intraday range, so not a bad day by any means. Obviously, would have liked to seen it close above the 110.02 entry, but when Fiserv first announced their acquisition, or at least plans to acquire First Data, the market really liked it. They closed that acquisition in July, so this was the first quarter where First Data's business was included. That's why you had a big jump in sales, up 122% from a year ago. But so that acquisition of First Data is going very well for Fiserv, and just another breakout here, and we'll see if it can follow through tomorrow. Again, a close below the buy point, but it's not the end of the world, especially since we had a close what looks to be in the upper half.
Yeah, that's right. And rounding out our trio of stocks breaking out today is Sleep Number, which gained almost 6% today. Heavy volume there as well, breaking out of a cup with handle base. Now this chart it appears to be a little bit messier, but it's shaping up quite nicely. Yeah, well,
Sleep Number is known for volatile price swings, and this was not an earnings move. This was just a good bona fide technical breakout in heavy volume. They reported earnings a little while back, but really strong results, and it's just another day of breakouts in the stock market today. We've seen a lot of them recently, and that's I think that bodes well with indexes up near highs and doing very well. You want to see growth stocks acting well, and we just talked about three that are acting well.
Yeah, that's right. Their earnings report did come a little while ago in mid-October, showing earnings growth of over 80%, revenue growth of 14%. And it looks like for the year, earnings growth is expected to hit 43%. So that's also good to see.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fundamental powerhouse. Recent sales growth a little bit below that 25% threshold we'd like to see, but sales growth has been accelerating for a few quarters in a row now. So that's always indicative of strong demand for their beds. And I know several people with these Sleep Number beds. They swear by them.
All right. Well, that's some good anecdotal information there. And before we go, we have three quick announcements for you. IBD Live is now live. So Ken, why don't you give us a little primer? You made your debut on IBD Live today. Tell us more.
Yeah. So we have four guys every day that are just talking the market. We go on air about 10 minutes before the market open every day, and we take it to about for a little over an hour till about 10:30 Eastern time. And really, it's just a way for viewers to kind of get inside our circle, and we're just talking about newsworthy stocks and more importantly actionable stocks. And there's a lot of portfolio management discussion in IBD Live, but if there are stocks moving in pre-market, you're going to hear about them in IBD Live, and a lot of discussion of IBD 50 stocks, Market Smith Growth 250, so lots of actionable information.
Exactly, and the ability to really take your trading game to the next level. So very exciting, and you can get your free trial, 2-week trial, today by going to investors.com/IBD Live. And we also have a webinar coming up, another great resource for everyone. It's happening on November 14th, and our owner, Risha Pires, will be joined by the two wizards of Wall Street, Mark Minervini and David Ryan. And last but not least, we have our CanSlim Masters program happening the weekend of December 14th and 15th. That is at the Fairmont in Santa Monica, a great annual event every year. And this one, even more special than usual because it is our last year of doing the CanSlim Masters program. And you can find out all the information about that by going to investors.com/masters. All right, that is it for today's show. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.